week 4 of the Heatwave podcast. I'm joined by only one of my co-hosts today. We've got HCS Headline. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I'm excited to talk about Halo and what's going to happen tomorrow because we're filming this the day before the Anaheim Qualifiers.
Where we're going to start is actually we're going to wrap up week 3 and talk about week 4 of the Pro Series results. So really the storyline coming out of this is Cloud9 win.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the secret to Cloud9's success? Like, what's setting them apart in the competition?
I'd probably just say like experience playing together. I mean, 3 of them have been together for quite a long time, so I think they just got natural chemistry, to be honest. And when they're actually like in game, I think it kind of shows that they're getting their trades and they're getting the right amount of kills, assists, and I don't know. I think a lot of it seems kind of off instinct, like they work off instinct. But yeah, there's not many mistakes. They don't make too many mistakes compared to like some other teams where you'd see like a big mistake that maybe costs a game. I don't really see that from them, and I think another reason is like you can never really count them out. I feel like any of those 4 can kind of go off and save the game and almost bring it back. So yeah, I think they're just a cohesive unit, really, compared to other teams who have made team changes and they've been a bit inconsistent. I feel like Cloud9 are definitely the safe bet as number 1 in the league right now. What do you think about them though?
Yeah, so I totally agree with what you're saying, where it just seems like the mistakes are to a minimum, and we've heard people like Snakebite famously like come out and kind of say that it's about really minimizing those mistakes that you're making. And I just think one of the things, and this is more of just like a overall view that I was noticing, is that teams, like, there's actually, if you just look at the results, you're like, okay, this team is so dominant, but there's actually a couple of series that it's like the other team is the one that are making those mistakes, and they're not closing out the games they should be. And then it's like, okay, if you have a 48-48 game against Cloud9, like, you need to win that game, because they can afford to like lose a close game and then they'll blow you out the next game, right? So if you're really trying to like take down the Kings of the Mountain, like, you need to take every close game, because you might come up on a game type that is just, that's like an automatic win for them. I noticed that with FaZe. I think FaZe, I don't remember if they were already in the best of 3s or if they were already in the best of 5 when they faced Cloud9. But there was a moment in in live fire, and I think that game ended up with like 48. It was either 48-50 or like 49-50. And not to call anybody out, but I think Bound made a pretty big like misread on where they were set up, and they just took that game. And then at that point they were FaZe was up like 1-0. Cloud9 ties it, I think, and then the next game was pretty close. Cloud9 won, and then I think they might have won another one, or that would have been the 2-1. But it was just like, dude, if he would have closed that out, then you're going into another close game. It's just like, you give Cloud9 an inch, and they're taking a mile.
Yeah, for sure. I think like if anyone makes a mistake against Cloud9, I think Cloud9 just kind of take it and run with it.
Yeah.
I think they kind of see that as almost like an opening, and then once that happens, they haven't just got their foot in the door; they're pretty much through the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just on a different level right now. Well, as you can see, and I think they're almost untouchable right now, in my opinion. Anyway.
No, I agree. I will say the one thing that's like actually refreshing though is there was times during Sentinel's run in Halo 5 where it looked like it was like a race for second place. It looked like even when a team would kind of do okay against them, it just looked like they were just on such a different level. And I think with this Cloud9 team, at least, like, I don't know, I'm still seeing some really bright areas from the other top 3 to 4 teams that I think the right circumstance, I think they have to have the right win conditions, but I do think that there's teams that can definitely take a series off of Cloud9.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this year, to be honest. Like, I see it as the top four can at least take maps away from Cloud9. It's not like Cloud9 are like the best. Obviously, they're the best, but it's not like they're the best by like a far margin. Like you've seen some teams take maps off Cloud9,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, Sentinels last in week four anyway. They obviously, because it was Formal's last tournament, they were just almost taking it casual in a way. They were
Mhm.
more just playing for fun. They were seeing how far they could go instead of like almost trying to win.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Cloud9 just always seem focused, even if they haven't played in a while. And there's a team coming from losers bracket who have like grinded their way to get there, and they're hot. I still would take Cloud9 over that team.
Yeah. No, it's especially right now. It's just, I mean, they have the confidence too, because that's something. Speaking on the same point with teams not being able to close it out. That's something that you notice from like Sentinels as well. From in back in Halo 5 was that if you actually go back and like look at some of their wins, their runs through a tournament they'd actually have some close series,
Hmm.
but it just didn't matter at the end because they would be the ones, like however you want to say it, like ice in the veins. They're ready for those close games. They're like they know how to close the games, right? And
Yeah,
I think it's a combination of things, but I think there's a point in games when teams, they have the momentum, right? And then they start, instead of trying playing to win, they're playing not to lose. And I think in Halo
yeah,
you always have to be um like going for that win. You have to be, playing offensively. You can't be like turtling up or whatever. Like
hmm
I think people just probably get in their own head sometimes. And I think that kind of helps the when the teams have this aura around them like Cloud9 do. I think that only helps, solidify their spot. They got all the confidence in the world.
yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes teams go into the finals almost looking to at least just steal a map instead of take the whole series. Because just because it's Cloud9, it's like big Titan they've got to try and take down. I feel
Yeah.
like they almost have like a defeatist attitude going into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it would be nice if we go into Anaheim or something like that and we see them at least get like close competition, because there's been close matches but not really close series. It hasn't really gone
Yeah.
back and forth too much. So yeah,
Yeah, and that's another nice thing that when leading into Anaheim that we're finally gonna get to see. I mean, we obviously had the first LAN, which they obviously won, but it's gonna be really nice to see how this all plays out on LAN. And
yeah, definitely,
yeah, and I think we're all excited to see if there's any differences.
for
Um,
sure.
okay, so for for week 4, we had Cloud9 in first, followed by Sentinels, FaZe, and Optic. Fifth and sixth, we had E United and Xset, and then seventh and eighth, we had G2 and Space Station. Did any of these other teams stand out to you?
Um, Out of all of them, FaZe looking like a solid three right now, solid top three anyway, and I think they're kind of finding their form almost as they get closer to LAN in a couple of weeks. So it should be good to see what they can do. Um, but the team that stood out the most is, in my opinion, anyway, definitely Xset. I feel like there were some great performances in there from the Spectre. He had a really good tournament. Um, yeah, mostly because they're an amateur team that kind of stands out the most. But it was unfortunate that E United are kind of dropping a bit lower in the standings in the recent weeks,
Yeah.
considering like how they started the year, um, almost on a high. They got second at Raleigh, and yeah, it's just almost unfortunate to see that they're kind of slowing down a bit. Maybe it's just an online thing, and they'll come back at Anaheim, but I don't know. I'm a bit interested in that anyway. Um,
Yeah.
and then Space Station and G2 getting kind of top eight is good for them, but I like to see them almost push further up, especially Space Station,
Yeah.
because they've got a lot of like, I feel like they've got a high ceiling, but they just almost haven't hit their form yet, I guess. But yeah, mostly just except for me. How about you?
Yeah. So I actually like every time I'm watching, I'm like it. It's probably like the first time since I've been like watching Halo where I feel like all these top teams, every time I watch them, like week to week, it's like I can see improvements in all of them. You know, I
Yeah,
was kind of expecting more like one week we'd see a team, come out hot, and like another team, and then the next week that team would like kind of drop off. But it kind of seems
yeah,
like, even with United, like, um, to be honest, like I think I've said it on like a past episode too. That's kind of that spot, like fifth, sixth, like that's kind of where I see them more at. I just don't think
yeah,
I'm not gonna be ever convinced that this team has like the firepower to consistently place in like the top. I mean, I think for them that's a good spot. I don't, and
yeah,
that's not even, that's not saying anything. Like the teams, like the top five teams are like have incredible rosters. But even with them, kind of dropping back from, if you compare it to their like second place like land finish at Rally, even them, I watch them and I'm still impressed with their improvements. All these top five teams, I can't say anything really like negative about them. I think it's just how we were mentioning before. It's just when the only time I can is when they're facing like Cloud9, and
yeah,
then they kind
yeah,
of hit they Cloud9 for whatever reason are exposing them. I think one of the things too with going back to that Cloud9 team is I mean they might have three of their players might be in the top five in the game. I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
don't think I think if you make that argument, I think that I don't know, that's definitely an argument you can make, I guess.
Yeah, I
So,
think. Sorry, I was just gonna
I'll go
say.
for it.
I think that's definitely a topic for like a future episode, maybe like a power ranking type thing. We could rank the teams, maybe even rank the players. But I definitely agree with you. I think to put to put three of them in the top 5/6 is definitely. I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, it's not like one of those things like I would necessarily like agree with or say like it's for sure, but if you did that, you're not like calling somebody crazy for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um no, I think that would be a good idea too for an episode to kind of go through like a power ranking. I'm
for
actually
sure.
I don't know if all the information's out there, but I'm kind of looking forward to when we have less matches. I never thought I'd
Yeah,
get there, but I'm like, man, this is like, I get why they did it, but I'm like, it's too much. Like I'm getting burnt out. We can't even keep up with the show.
yeah,
We're
yeah. It's a bit,
we're just like
yeah, it's a bit
struggling. It's
difficult.
like past midnight over there for you. We're just like trying to churn it out just to keep up with everything, man. We missed 1 week and we're like, oh my gosh, we got so
Yeah,
much to cover. So I'm glad too, because then we'll be able to like, more stuff will develop in between episodes, and we can kind of, rather than this, we're just like kind of reacting to the results or whatever. Um,
yeah. I mean, it's kind of just back to back days. There's new Halo, especially with the
yeah,
qualifiers. It's like we might have been able to have like a weekend off, but
yeah,
yeah, they're just
exactly.
adding more qualifiers. So I'm enjoying it. I mean, I am excited for the for some downtime definitely because that's
Yeah,
when like more storylines can develop. Maybe even some team changes after Anaheim. Maybe.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I have a
maybe-
yeah. We'll get to that at the end too, because I have a um, I'm kind of interested in that too. So sorry, I kind of lost track of my thoughts. So let's switch over, unless you have anything other, any other comments. Let's go over to the other regions. So we'll just say from the start, like I'll let you take it actually, because I think you're a little bit more homeworked
yeah, I
up.
mean, it's constantly more of the same. I mean, every single region had a team winning for their fourth week in a row. So
Yeah,
obviously, Ascend took this one, but Quadrant managed to break into the top two again. Team seems to be like coming together a bit more now. But yeah, that I was impressed with. But still, Ascend is constantly on top. Um, they seem in a way they seem more dominant in their region than Cloud9 are in NA,
yeah,
I would say. Um, yeah, the lads placed top four, which is, in my opinion, is still pretty good for them considering they haven't been picked up by an Org. Um, but Navi did get fifth place, which was unfortunate to see. It kind of hurt to watch that series for me. I know that they've got like a much higher ceiling. But yeah, I didn't expect to see it considering like the players they've got and the resources they've got. I feel like they need to almost pick it up in the weeks to come. But other than that, not much storylines came from EU. To be honest, it
So
was more of a quiet week.
so I don't know which week. I think it was like week 2 going into week 3. All of a sudden the lads are on the scene, right? They get that
Yeah,
top 2 performance. And I kind of felt like being more disconnected from the EU scene. I kind of felt the same thing happened with HMCA.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so what's the secret? What is it with that squad? Were they playing before? Did they just kind of form that team, or did they just hit their stride?
Yeah, I would say I'm not too sure about their history. But yeah, HMCA just look like they're getting their stuff together and they're kind of just working together more. And yeah, they placed third, which
Yeah.
is really good considering there's like quite a decent amount of competition in the region.
Hmm.
Um, and they've just been picked up by an organization which I think we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do this year anyway, because I wasn't too clued up about their roster until they started almost performing at like a higher level, and then I started to tune in a bit more. But yeah, they got third. Um, Navi fifth is like the biggest shock for me, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So
That's
that's for that fourth tournament, right? And I think Quadrant plays pretty high, right? For didn't they
yeah,
place like
Quadrant.
third or
Yeah,
did
Quadrant plays second. Yeah,
oh second? See, yeah. So that's a
yeah,
good. I think that's I probably get this wrong, but is that SLG's team?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he's coming off. That's cool. I like seeing him kind of breaking into that top 2 because I remember him from kind of being a breakout player in Halo 5. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it is.
I mean, that
Yeah,
team's got talent. The team definitely has talent. They've
yeah.
just fortunately they kind of dipped a bit between
Hmm.
like we're weeks 2 and 3, but I mean they seem to be picking it back up at least a little bit. So
Yeah,
maybe they can challenge Ascend in the weeks to come. I'm not too sure.
yeah. It would be nice if obviously if travel was a little bit easier because I think right now I think you could easily say like we have a good top 5 in the region. It'd be cool to
Yeah.
see what they could do with some boot camps in NA and
Hmm.
how that competition would go because we had Navi's placing 5th in this tournament, but they placed 7th in Rally. That's one of the early
Yeah.
tournaments, but that's still
Hmm.
it's still something impressive. Okay, so let's move over. So we obviously, you stated it. We had the same results. We had the same champion in all 4 regions. So
Yeah.
in MX region, we had Pittsburgh Knights for the
Yeah.
the 4-peat. Did they end up facing Timber in the finals as well? Do you know?
uh, yeah, they did. It's actually nice to see, in my opinion, that that's like a matchup that's been consistently shown. I think I don't think Timber have what it takes right now. I mean PK just look to be like the better team. Um, but yeah, they actually didn't drop a map until finals where Timber managed to get like one map off them, which is still pretty impressive and like definitely shows some progressions happening. But it's just about whether they can actually catch up, which in my opinion I don't think they can. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good matchup still. I'm always excited to watch that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool to see those guys. And I think that kind of solidifies um the possibility that they would come to an international end and get some good results, right? They're kind of beating up on
Yeah.
the competition down there, so shout out to them. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm excited to see the next time we'll get to see them play on land. Let's shift over to the ANZ region. We had Mind Freak. No, is it Mind Freaks? That's just no. It's Chiefs. Sorry,
Chiefs, yeah,
Chiefs
Chiefs.
again. Another 4-peat. I'm not even sure who they played in the finals. For this last
They
tournament.
played a Divine Mind, which
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, I think they played Divine Mind in all 4 of their finals. I
Okay.
think I think definitely at least 3.
Yeah.
They looked, in my opinion, they looked the strongest out of all the Pro Series. They only dropped one map against like a team that wasn't Chiefs.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Barcode just he keeps performing better than anyone else, and it's really clear to see. I think it's almost only a matter of time before um a team picks him up that's like an NA team, they can fly him out, pick him up because he dropped a 1.7, and I
Yeah.
think everyone else was dropping like 1.2s ish. I'm pretty sure he went. I think it was 12-0, 13-0.
Hmm.
Um, in a finals game, which to me is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in every interview, he's quite a humble guy. He always talks about how like his teammates work with him and they don't like almost put him on a pedestal. I think they've got almost the perfect chemistry right now.
Yeah. No, no, it's cool. It's definitely cool to see. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the way we're gonna see players from probably these, these more these less well known regions like kind of break in is I think they're gonna have to get picked up by the NA
Yeah,
orgs at first. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if we're actually gonna see a full team come from those regions and get some success. But I could definitely see, one of the NA teams with the resources being able to pick them up, and obviously it takes a lot to fly them out and put them
yeah.
up somewhere. But no, shout out to them for all the results, and I hope they can get some good international experience too in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think HCS almost need to organize like an international boot camp where they just fly like the top three from the other regions in, or like the top four maybe, and they
Yeah.
just do like it could even be like behind closed doors and they just stream the matches. But as long as it's like a LAN environment to see, because I'm interested where Chiefs would like come up against like the EU teams. Like I'd love to see Chiefs versus Ascend. I think that would be a great matchup.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, that is something that I've been like thinking about too, because famously in we had Halo 3, um a lot less. I don't even know if there was technically any real orgs back then involved.
Yeah,
It was kind of
yeah,
player made orgs. Um
yeah,
but we said there was famously like the LAN network. There players would fly themselves out, and obviously they had like um you have to go back and look at that history, but they have like some very accommodating people that would like let them, that they had a very nice setup for them and they had a
yeah.
place to stay, but they would still, they would still put it on themselves to like fly themselves to these lands. And it's really
Right,
not
yeah.
something you really see anymore. Even these like the biggest orgs, it seems like they're not really doing that. I think there are some teams ahead of this qualifier that are going to
Yeah,
fly, that it seems like they're flying their players out so they can all play in the same room, but
yeah.
I thought it'd be more
I've seen.
commonplace.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen like I think I've seen some teams like I'm pretty sure Complexity are doing like a boot
Yes.
camp type thing before this. But yeah, it'd be nice to see like an international. I mean, HCS are giving like 3,000 to a team to fly them out to Anaheim and stuff. So why not with like other teams? Obviously, it's probably a bit more expensive, but
Yeah, yeah. Or put it, I mean, I know there's partner teams, so it's like,
mm,
come
yeah,
to an agreement with the partner teams, like, hey, this is what we'll cover. Like maybe
mhm.
we'll have the air, like we'll do all the production. Like
Yeah,
you just put your players up, and that's an opportunity to get your teams together to do like content anyways. Obviously,
for
like,
sure.
we're not naive to the fact that that's a lot of money to do, but I
Mhm.
think it would be worthwhile, and obviously like something worth exploring. So let's transition into the Anaheim online qualifier, the open portion of Anaheim
Mm,
that was moved to online due to COVID restrictions.
yeah,
So one so I do want to cover it a little bit more, the basis, because I noticed on some of the last episodes we would just start talking about something without really explaining it. So I was like, okay,
yeah.
we should probably explain it to people that are just like not really caught up on this stuff. So
Mhm.
we have a land that's scheduled on the 21st of, I think it's like the 21st, the President's Weekend, basically, of February. Um, it was announced basically maybe a month or so ago that the open portion of this, like I said, due to COVID reasons, had to get moved online. That way they don't have all these teams showing up. So what they did is the top 8 from Rally automatically qualify and have their spots guaranteed for Anaheim, and then
Mhm.
they're having a giant open bracket tournament tomorrow, and the top 8 teams from that will qualify for the land in Anaheim, and they will be also be provided a stipend, which we went over. for their travel. So we're gonna go in. We're gonna talk about the online portion of this event. We'll do a pre Anaheim LAN type episode when it gets closer, and probably once groups are revealed for
Yeah,
that. But
definitely.
so going into this tournament, I mean it's got a different name and it's got more there's more importance behind it than these other weekly tournaments that we've been having, because the other ones were basically just they were for points and like
Yeah,
a little bit of money if you were first or second, I think.
yeah.
But this one, I mean, you could have not played in any other qualifier, and you can play tomorrow, and then get
Mhm.
guaranteed one of only, I mean, if you want to count the teams that are already in, one of only 16 spots. So it's got a lot riding on tomorrow's tournament.
Mhm.
So that being said, what team should be guaranteed, in your opinion, to make it through?
I think almost 6 out of 8 of the teams that qualify should be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones that we've seen consistently in the Pro Series. So that's
Hmm.
like your Fnatic, your Oxygen, your BBG, Xset, G1, Complexity. Like those six, in my opinion, are
Yeah.
pretty much guaranteed. Um, I think Unsigned Talent are kind of wavering on that guarantee. I
Hmm.
think there's potential for them to get in,
Yeah.
definitely, but I think there's two, maybe three potential spots for teams that we haven't seen consistently in a Pro Series.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're thinking the same because that's like the safe option on it.
Yeah. So, like, if I'm thinking about what teams, are guaranteed in, like, it would have been nice. Like, if we obviously did way more of our homework, we probably could have seen the same exact teams qualify every week.
Yeah,
We would have
yeah,
seen, like, Built by Gamers,
hmm,
Oxygen,
yeah,
Complexity. Yeah, I think Complexity every week, Xset. So, other than us jinxing these teams for getting in, I think we can, like, we can pretty much put them like to the side to think like, okay, those teams are probably gonna get in. I always, man, I'm not even like exaggerating here. I think I'm almost more excited for this tournament than I am for the actual, like, if this tournament right here was on LAN, I would be more excited than the top 16 teams playing. Like, I love just not
yeah,
knowing
yeah,
how it's going to turn out, and then you have these upsets, and there's
mhm,
just, I love the idea that some random team can just come through the entire
yeah.
open.
It's all about the exposure. Like
Yeah.
in theory, anyone can make it into this
Hmm.
eight that do qualify.
Yeah.
So that like the potential for that always gets me pretty excited. But unfortunately, I hate to be that guy, but I don't see many teams that we haven't heard of at least once or twice making it into that top eight.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
let's really, the way it should be stated is, the teams like Complexity, the teams like Xset, if you're on that caliber, there's no excuse. Like, you don't have a reason to not
yeah,
get in,
definitely.
But I've seen, and it could happen, and if it happens, like, it's unfortunate, but I have seen a lot of good things from those teams. Like, obviously we've seen Complexity. We were talking about it before. We
Mhm.
were just talking about it, how they're actually all playing from the same location, so Complexity probably
Yeah,
flew them out to
yeah,
there. I think they have a huge, like, arena kind of, or a kind
mhm.
of facility where they can all play out. So that's great. I also saw, like, Kratos from Xset basically, I
Yeah,
think yesterday or today, like, tweeting out like, "Hey, we want scrims all day." So
yeah,
he's
yeah.
there. So, and they've been destroying online. The last, like, two events, they've been doing, like, incredible.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's cool to see them just not taking their foot off the pedal and just being like, no, like, this is the time to put in that extra work, and we're not slowing down before, like, the Anaheim tournament.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think if teams are getting together in like a LAN environment, then I feel like there almost is no excuse for
Yeah.
not placing in this top eight because obviously they've got access to things that a lot of people don't. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would love more than anything to see a team that we haven't heard of make it into this top eight and potentially go on a run. I don't know how possible that will be, but yeah, I mean, anything could happen, and I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on like the teams that are playing against these more established teams and like these organizations in case there's like potential for an upset.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'd be incredible. I hope, let's pray to the server gods that everything works out, that no teams
Yeah.
get, I don't want to see any teams, even the teams that shouldn't make it. I hope none of them get DQ'd for any like ridiculous reasons.
Hmm.
I hope all the
Yeah.
connections like work well. That's the tough thing about when they're playing, these online tournaments. Um,
Mm.
you did mention one team that I did want to talk about briefly is Unsigned Talent, and
Mhm.
I'm still holding out for this team, but I really, really am disappointed that this team didn't get signed before they got kind of picked apart, because I think they had some
Yeah.
really good pieces, and I
Hmm.
think it's unfortunate that like even they got. I mean, I think it's at least two of their core members got taken, and they're still showing up. They're still making it into the top 16. They're still making it to the Pro Series. I think I would have really liked to see them stick together.
Yeah, and I think it's just I don't know why they didn't get picked up because they were consistently making it to the Pro Series, and I'm not sure about their actual like results in the Pro Series, but just actually making it to the Pro Series is really impressive considering the amount of teams that apply and stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate. That's just what happens in the amateur scene sometimes. There's
Yeah.
some sketchy things going on sometimes, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
No, it's just one of the, it happens when you can't get when you can't get players to like sign the contract, and you have to understand,
Mhm.
like, see where they're coming from. Like, I think their first person to get taken was for Space Station was Flazen
Mhm.
97, who's now playing for Space Station. But it's like you can't fault him for getting this opportunity to play with like an established org, play with Ace, a Halo legend. So it's
Yeah.
definitely understandable.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost just no incentive at the moment to stay with a team. Like if there's like an organization and they put the money on the table, like same thing happened with the Fnatic roster. Now they saw the opportunity, they got the contract and they left Team War to actually join
Yeah.
Fnatic. So I mean, it would be nice if Team War picked up somebody else, but I mean, I don't really see that happening.
No, yeah. Um so we pretty much touched on that. Is there any I mean there's right now we have, at least from what I'm checking, we have 250 teams signed up, which I kind of hopefully that number will get higher, but I think teams are probably like, the teams that are just playing for fun are like, what's the point kind of thing. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that number is just kind of moderate for that reason. Is there any sneaky teams, I'll say dark horse teams, that you could see sneaking into that top 8, or is it just too hard to kind of scout out right now?
Um, I was looking back at some of the open series from the previous weeks, and um we love anime. Obviously, the name sounds funny, but they
Yeah,
mean
so
business.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, they mean business. They've been getting to the Pro Series a couple of times, especially
Yeah.
in like the recent weeks. And then I also picked out I think it's Aspire Astra is what they're called. They made it to the Pro Series I think once. But yeah, I was just more looking at teams that have made it to the Pro Series, like EXO. EXO made it in I think it was week 2 of the Pro Series.
Yes.
Other than that, I wasn't able to pick out um anyone else other than that. But just based off the almost six that we thought were established, do you see anyone potentially not making it?
Yeah, I was gonna like set up to ask you first. Um, Man, it's tough because it's almost. I think what's tougher for me is that I'll feel guilty about calling out a team like this, like.
Yeah, yeah,
But to be honest, if I was going with my gut, I would say Complexity, because we've seen
yeah,
them drop the ball like a few times. I don't know if they've ever not. I think there was one week they didn't even make it into
yeah. I
pro,
think
right?
it might have been week
But
2, week. I don't know.
yeah, so we've seen them underperform, but I'd say the fact that I think they kind of got a, like, not to make a pun, but they kind of got a reality check from not making it one of the times, and I think our guest kind of came out and said that, or our co-host Relent kind of came out and said that he had heard that they might not have gotten like as much practice as they would have liked to. I think that might
Yeah.
have woke them up to it. So, and the fact that they're gonna play all together, I don't really. I mean, if they didn't make it, that would be shocking. So for
Yeah.
them, I won't. I don't think. I mean, there's obviously a chance they won't make it, but I won't pick them. But normally, I would say that. I don't know because the other team I want to say. I feel like the other teams like they kind of make it in pretty easily, right? So you're
Yeah.
like typically like Oxygen kind of just runs through teams.
Mhm.
Like doesn't like before I know it, I see them tweeting like, "Hey, we made it through winners bracket."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I
Yeah.
didn't even get to watch any of them play. And same thing with like, I guess G1 has struggled a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
that was the one I was gonna pick out
yeah.
just because they've had a couple of series where they've kind of not lived up to the hype. But
Hmm.
I think you wanna they're pretty
Oh,
strong. I
yeah.
mean I'd like to see them.
Are we is that who we're putting the curse on? G1?
I don't want to put a curse on
Maybe
anyone because I feel
I
bad.
know, yeah, it's weird to call them out, but maybe we'll reverse curse it. So if we call it, then they'll for sure get in. But no, I'd say
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, if we're playing that game where we're trying to figure out which team is, I guess, the least likeliest to get in out of the more established teams, I'd say it's probably G1. But
Yeah.
also going
Just
back to, I do like your pick of We Love Anime, as ridiculous as that name is, as like a sneaky team to get in. I think as unserious as their team name is, they'll probably get in.
yeah, just quickly before we move on, what do you think about status quo's chance?
I they got. I'll say this: they have a chance. They need to get blessed by the bracket. I think
Yeah.
they're. I think they're. I think that's the thing about these other teams is I think those other teams can just. I think Exet can beat any team in the open,
Hmm. Yeah.
and same kind of deal for for Oxygen, for honestly for Complexity too, if their mindset's right. But we've seen. I haven't seen much else besides like struggling and kind of barely sneaking in for
Yeah, I think they've only made it into the Pro Series once. Then
yeah.
they almost fall short like one series before they would have been guaranteed. That's what I've seen anyway.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd definitely like to see them just for like the memories and just to see what they could do. I like to see them play on the main stage.
Yeah. No, me
But
too.
yeah,
Yeah. I would love it, and I think we've even talked about them before and been like, yeah, like the only reason we bring them up really because the results haven't been there is because the name and the names on the
yeah,
team,
yeah.
and like the legendary status. So I'm
Hmm.
hoping that, and then I'll see if they don't get in. We'll see if they end up with some roster changes because I know we know Enable is not probably not a
Yeah,
solid fourth
yeah.
as far as like how long he's going to be on this team.
Hmm.
Okay, moving over. So that was pretty much all of our topics for all of our major topics for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, so to close out the show, I have some topics, and we're just gonna basically run through some questions and then have a discussion.
Hmm.
So I'll pitch these questions to you.
Okay.
So first, where does Formal end up after Anaheim?
I I feel like there's almost three, maybe four chances that he could take. I mean, I feel like he has to stay in like a top 8 to 10 team, just because I feel like that's where he belongs mostly. But out of the options, I'd say G2 maybe, um, maybe E United if they don't do too well at Anaheim. I feel like that would be a big blow for them. And then the third option is just staying as like a sub for Optic in case something happens or like they start to fall off a bit because they've been fluctuating a little bit.
Yeah,
And maybe you just want to stay on Optic and just wait to see when kind of like just because he's consistently streaming, he'd still be playing. It's not like he wouldn't be playing if he wasn't on a team. So maybe he just waits for his chance there. But I feel like those three are probably the possible options for him. Maybe he goes back to Space Station, but I
yeah.
don't know. Like, what do you think about it though?
So, well, I want to ask you one more question. Do you think there's any
Okay,
chance
okay.
that and we could talk about the tweet or we could not talk about the tweet, but do you think there's any chance
Right.
that he gets, even if it's not the TSM team, do you think there's any chance that he gets approached by an org and kind of builds his own team? Like maybe like
I
even
think
like because I mean there's a couple huge ones, right? There's like the TSM
hmm
one, but there's
yeah.
also 100 Thieves, Liquid's not in the mix yet.
hmm
You think that's a
Yeah, I
possibility?
mean, I think it would be nice, especially considering like it would just be nice to have a bigger org, like well, another big org in the league, because obviously that brings hype and stuff. I think it would be nice to see, but I just don't know who he'd pick like around him. I guess that
Yeah,
would be because realistically, the top three or top four who are consistently placing there wouldn't want to sort of give that up because they feel like they
yeah.
might actually have a shot at like placing first. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it would be cool if he was on 100 Thieves because obviously he's got some ties to Nadeshot when they play Call of Duty together and stuff. But I don't really see that as much of
Yeah,
a much of an option for him because obviously there's a high chance that TSM could have just been throwing some bait on the timeline. But
yeah.
I don't really know. I feel like he'd suit better to almost take a spot on like an already established team and kind of work into a role in that. But yeah, I want to hear what you have to say though because I'm interested.
Yeah, so I agree. I just kind of wanted to see your thoughts, but I agree. I don't see another team picking him up and building a roster, and for a couple different reasons. But one of the things too is, so we're talking if these partner teams, right? Like I don't think a org would do that unless they were going to be partnered, and I don't
Hmm
really see. I mean, it would be pretty crazy of like whatever that committee is that chooses the partner teams if it's just Tashi himself, but basically being like, hey, yeah, 100 Thieves, like you haven't been doing anything with Halo, but come on in when we got these
Yeah,
teams, you know, are like that have been in since day one, like built by gamers, Xset,
yeah, pioneers.
Pioneers, yeah. So we
Yeah,
like, so that's another reason is I don't think a team would do that without the incentive that they are gonna be partnered right away.
yeah,
Honestly, my big dude, I think Optic. I think
yeah,
Optic is like it's 80% got to be Optic, and I will save the predictions, but I mean I don't think they're gonna perform like I think they'll probably perform like they did in the last like online. You know, I think fifth, sixth, but I think for them that's not good enough.
yeah,
And I think they'll
definitely
look for
not.
a change, and that'll be formal. But I could see him
Mhm.
filling in somewhere else. It's just the contract things are the what gets me, and I kind of
Yeah,
see. Yeah, I don't think a team will buy him out really. So I think he'll stay on Optic.
yeah. I mean, they did loan him out to Space Station and Sentinels, so
Yeah,
I guess they could do that again. But I think his safe option would just be to like stay as a sub and like
yeah,
just stream consistently, show like what he's got, and just yeah, just wait for an option to open. I guess.
that's true. And I guess it would be easier to discuss this if we knew his like mindset. You know, if like because obviously
Yeah.
he wants to play, but right now it just kind of seems like, hey, I want to play if it's like an easy thing where you can just load me out and then I'll go to whatever team I want. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I don't think he's like actively like trying to get, you know, an org to buy him out or, you know, trying to get Optic to discuss it with other teams or whatever.
Yeah. I think he
Um
did mention just quickly. I think he did mention at some point on stream that he has actually been approached with offers.
oh yeah. Yeah, I did
He was
see
kind of
that.
just yeah, he was kind of just waiting to see if there were like any more. Almost, it's.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got all the power in this situation. He can
Yeah.
almost pick and choose what he'd want.
Mm.
But yeah, I kind of see him more as a relaxed type of person. He might just want to stay around on Optic, and yeah, I feel like that's a
Yeah.
safe option.
Well, he's like I mean, I guess he wouldn't necessarily have to move too, but if you see him every time he streams, he's streaming at that facility. Like, is
Yeah,
this here?
yeah,
You know, to play Halo, he's like, which he's already like. I think he's accomplished everything he probably wants to. Like another trophy on the mantle would probably be great, but I don't
yeah.
think he's really like banking on it. You know, and he's
Mhm.
gonna really pick up and move all his stuff to what try to
Yeah,
go win. You know, unless it was honestly, unless it was like a Cloud9 offer, like I don't really see it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
No,
don't think it would make sense for him.
definitely
So
not. I think
I'll go for it.
no, I was just gonna say, I think the best option for him would be almost to kind of just stay on Optic because he's got
Yeah.
he's getting guaranteed like money staying on Optic because obviously he'll be on a contract there. So I feel like it's too big of a risk.
Yeah, no, agreed. Okay, so next question. Will Sentinels be better or worse with the addition of Royal 2? Or I guess, coming off suspension, Royal 2.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I said in our very first episode, I said that I thought they would do worse with Royal 2 back.
Yeah.
But seeing what's happened over the past few weeks, I feel like week 4 of the Pro Series, the one that's just gone, that Sentinels run was almost a one-off. I feel like um, with Royal 2, they could actually make that consistent, especially
Yeah.
considering the chemistry they've had, obviously, on Halo 5 throughout the past couple of years. I feel like Royal 2 is definitely going to improve that system. Obviously, he's got experience. He's got more Halo experience than Formal does, because obviously Formal left for a good few
Yeah.
years. But yeah, I mean, Royal 2, he just brings a different kind of level to the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I mean, you might prove yourself right because, technically if they just perform worse at Anaheim than they did at Raleigh, you're going to be right,
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take a step back and then
Hmm.
kind of, and then it's kind of business as usual. I think they'll be better with Royal 2 in the long run, but I could see them it taking a minute to for them to hit their stride. I know like Royal 2 just must be like super anxious to play. So that'll be good. He'll definitely be hungry, but I could see the rest of the team kind of being just like frustrated with like that situation could not have been like fun to manage, and then
Hmm.
with their coach and Lethal getting like these like, I mean, for esports, like these kind of like astronomical fines. I mean,
Yeah.
that must have just been like a super headache, man. So I think that's probably gonna weigh on them, but I haven't seen if I'm hoping that they're gonna be boot camping before, or at least playing
Hmm.
together coming into Anaheim. So we'll have to see
Yeah, I
how
assume
they
so.
perform.
I feel like they kind of want to make a statement at Anaheim.
Yeah.
They kind of want to be like, this is what we could have been since the start of the game. And honestly, it'd be amazing to see if it was a Cloud9 Sentinels final and Sentinels managed to
Oh
take it.
man.
I feel like that would be
Yeah.
like one of the craziest storylines coming out of it.
No,
But
it'd be insane.
yeah, I mean, I just love the potential of that team. I feel like if when they get their stuff sorted together, especially like towards the end of this first year, they could be like a top 3 team,
Yeah.
definitely.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so will we see any major roster changes after Anaheim? Because obviously there's gonna be a bunch of changes, but major, I mean, like probably like top 8, top 12 teams. Do you think we'll
Mhm.
see any roster changes?
I might throw this one to you first. I want to hear your
Okay.
opinion first.
So I think almost like almost undoubtedly we're gonna see some like roster changes. I think
Yeah.
that leading into tournaments, teams are like one hesitant to do it because they're putting chemistry over. They're like, okay, we have a lot of time together, blah blah blah. But also, it's like the points, and these points start meaning so much to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the points are gonna work if they just carry on through the season, or if I assume that they would.
Mhm.
But I think even teams are gonna know now, like, hey, we need to start getting this team ready for the next LAN. But also, like, if we're planning on making it to
Mhm.
the Halo World Championship, like, we need to be ready. So I could see honestly any team I would say outside of the top 4 teams, so outside of Cloud9, FaZe, who else? Sentinels. I could see and there's one more. Not Optic, Cloud9.
United, maybe.
No, I think honestly I could even see United
Yeah.
kind of making a
Yeah.
change, but I'd say outside of those top 3, I could
Mhm.
see like a couple of changes like coming through. I honestly I think teams like probably should. I know we keep seeing like there's a common thing online where people are like, it's about building your roster together, but I'm like, there's only so much you can do sometimes with like your current roster, and you'll throw like, I don't know, they could throw a team together like last minute and kind of get some good results or whatever. I think if you're looking, these teams should be looking at like these up and coming talent if they're not, if they're not performing up to their standards, and definitely try to like summon them in. What do you think? Were we gonna see any major roster changes?
I think you're right. I think like the top three are pretty safe. Especially considering like they've been consistently placing top three. But other than that, I feel like anyone could make a roster change. Sentinels, I think if they did make a roster change, it would be a lot later in the year because they'd have to get used to like. Obviously, it's going to take them a while to get used to Royal Two coming back, and
Yeah.
their attitude might be a bit delayed compared to other teams who have been together for like like month and a half, 2 months that Royal Two wasn't there. But
Hmm.
I think if I was going to pick one team that I put my money on, I'd probably say E2.
Yeah.
I want to say because their results have been like there've been some teams that where their results have been a bit inconsistent, but I feel like theirs kind of a lot more inconsistent than the rest of the teams. Other than that, I don't know any ones that I'd say are almost guaranteed. Um, I feel like I kind of want to say that Pioneers aren't going to make a roster change because they're like an amateur team and
Yeah.
they've done so well for an amateur team. But obviously, you never know what's going to happen in the rest of the season.
Yeah. For a team like Pioneers, I think it's more likely that one of their players would get poached.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that player would be. Just like assuming that team that they ever would. But yeah, I don't see any of them like really leaving unless they had another
Yeah.
opportunity. But I really could see a team like I think if United doesn't perform well, I could see them. 'Cause I just like I still go back to that team and I'm like, like you can't just rely on like Spartan to just lay out every
Hmm.
every
Yeah.
every game to win. And I know that's like a generalization, but yeah, I could see some roster changes, and honestly, I think it just like kind of makes things interesting to see like these teams kind of shuffle around a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think there might be a roster change where they just get rid of all four, or at least like all
Mm.
three, and they do a complete rebuild, and there's almost like a Rustamania halfway through this year, maybe.
Oh, that would be cool. I could see that with if a team was kind of getting out or something, or
Hmm.
like they're kind of
Yeah.
coming up on the end of their contract.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
could definitely see something like that. That would be make things like very interesting. It also
Yeah.
helped to know the the rules behind the roster changes, which I know,
Sure.
yeah, we're not well read on. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I'm
it'll be
definitely
interesting to see how it plays out.
I'm definitely keeping an eye on that Fnatic roster as well because
Yeah,
um they're a bit they've been obviously they haven't been together too long, but their results have been a bit odd.
yeah, man. That was it was. I
Yeah.
would say it was. I mean, it was kind of a bust for them. They were kind of
Hmm.
like late to the party with signing a team, which
Definitely.
wasn't necessarily bad. And then they kind of signed this team. As soon as they signed them, Team War, they come out and like they qualify for the Pro Series, and then it kind of I think they took a good map like a series off of a high team, so you're like, okay, great, like this team's gonna do
Yeah.
it. And then ever since then it's just been like nothing. It was just like a flash in the pan.
Hmm.
And they got, I
Well,
don't know if you
yeah.
saw that when they were playing in the open, but they got dominated by Complexity, which is no slouch of a team, but it was just like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, that I don't know, for a partner team and a giant org like Fnatic, yeah, I
Hmm.
think the results aren't really what they would want.
Yeah. It was just unfortunate to see like they almost thought by getting in late they'd have a better opportunity at scouting talent, but
Yeah.
it's not been what they've asked for. Um,
No,
yeah, I think
unfortunately.
they beat Space Station in their first like official open as
That,
Fnatic.
yeah,
I think it was Space Station, but even Space Station, obviously they're a good team, but not like they beat like a phase or anything like that. It's still what they're placing like seventh/eighth consistently Space Station, so it's
yeah,
still not something to be like super pleased about. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's gonna make a roster change, I think it'd either be them or G2.
yeah. No, I could see that. All right, moving on to the EU region. We talked about this team earlier. I think we even
Hmm.
kind of hinted at that they were signing with an org, but so HCMA um, was approached and have, according to their Twitter at least, have
Yeah.
officially signed with an organization. My question
Hmm.
is, who do we think that organization is? Let's just throw these darts at the board and blindfolded and see where they land. Who do you think it is with no intel at all?
If I was just gonna guess, I'd probably say Vitality is the number one um, that I would go for. But the thing is, Vitality have shown like, well, to me anyway, they've shown absolutely zero interest of joining Halo. So I don't
Yeah.
really know what's gonna happen. But HMCA are a really good team
Hmm.
considering they were like the first couple of Pro Series or Open Series. Sorry, they didn't do too well. But
Yeah.
then recently they've been placing like top 3, top 4 consistently. Um, it's definitely a good pickup in my opinion. But if I was going to go for anyone, it'd probably be Vitality because they're like a big name, and I don't think HMCA would go for would sign for an organization that's kind of like low to mid tier,
Yeah.
like with like a low following. So I think they're more maybe Dignitas, but even that is like a complete shot in the dark. I could be completely wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I feel
Hmm.
like those two are the only valid options in my opinion.
Yeah, I think going on what like going off what you're saying too, I think it makes the most sense that it would be a like a European based org too. So that kind of limits it. So that's why like a Vitality I feel like is a good guess for that. And I think
Mhm.
also with the Vitality it's like wishful thinking too, because I think we all want like the
Yeah,
bigger orgs to bring,
definitely.
yeah, to bring more eyes into the space. Yeah, I could kind of see it being some of the orgs that have like historically were sponsoring like some of the EU teams. So maybe like I don't know, even like I don't know if Epsilon's still doing things. Maybe they came over. Um
Yeah, it's just we've got nothing to go on, by the way.
yeah, I
So
know. We got yeah, I don't know.
we
I just
literally,
threw this in as like a fun experiment, but
yeah, yeah,
we really
definitely.
have nothing. But okay, so you're going to go with Vitality. I'm going to go with I can't even remember the names of the orgs. I'll just go with one of the only orgs I can think of the top of my head. I'll go with a Endpoint. They're like a
Okay.
UK based org. Oh, you know what?
Mhm.
No, I'll go with Endpoint. Forget it. I think they got a pretty decent CS:GO team. I'm gonna just say that
Mhm.
they're trying to branch out into other things. Let's go with them.
I'll
Okay.
clip that if you get it right, by the way.
I know.
I'll clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Please clip
post that. I'll
that.
post
This is from January 29th, 2022. Okay. So this is more of a broad kind of question. And I think if anybody's is on Twitter at all, you would know why I was asking this. But do you think Halo Infinite is in a good state? And you could take that however you
So
want it. If you could take that as like, competitive, like is the competitive scene, is the game as a whole? What do you think? I mean,
there's
let's keep
so
it
many like
kind of
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
concise, but yeah, give us your
There's
opinion.
just there's like a massive range of pros and cons for like the game since it's been out. Obviously, there's a lot of technical issues which are making it most somewhat difficult to do
Yeah.
some of the stuff happening. Like there's been, I want to say at least one like disconnection every pro series almost, which is annoying. But I think just give it time, and it'll improve. But I think what made it worse was sort of the breaks that were happening. Obviously, the Christmas break was quite long, and that
Yeah.
pushed a lot of stuff back. But I mean, I'd say the game's not in the best state, but our community's in one of the better states we've been in for a while. Because obviously there's been a lot of hype around it and stuff. But yeah, I think technical issues are just making it a bit difficult. And also kind of like the format and the almost like I don't know how to explain it. Like being the developers and stuff being open about stuff they're gonna fix. I
Yeah.
feel like stuff they've said that they're gonna fix recently has been more casual side, not really for our kind of what we enjoy anyway. But
Mhm.
I think it would be nice if they could just write a big list of the stuff that they've at least seen and they've got an
Yeah.
eye, like they're gonna keep an eye on. I think recently they did they released a survey. I think they emailed a survey to people, to pros anyway.
Oh,
Um,
I saw that as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
about like stuff they can fix, which is obviously a step in the right direction, but
Yeah.
they have to act on that, which is not guaranteed. But
Mhm.
I'd say it's kind of like in a medium state,
Yeah.
just all things considered. How about you?
Yeah, so I think it's like tough for me because I really get my hands on the game so little that
Mhm.
every time I have noticed issues, but it's like when you're not really playing that often, if I run into some issues, like I'm like, no biggie,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, versus like, one, if your like livelihood depends on this, or two, if you're just playing more consistently, I could see like the issues that they're dealing with, like desync, they're dealing with a lot of cheaters. So I have to agree with you. I think we're in like, I don't think the sky is falling. I think we could obviously be in a better state, and we've gone downhill a little
Mhm.
bit from launch, but I think that's kind of to be expected. Um, but yeah, I think the communication definitely could be improved, and not to turn this into like a rant against 343, but I think that would go a long ways. Knowing, I really think the only like thing that I would like to see is to really know where the center is for, like, is Toshi the person that we should go to with everything, right? Is he the
Yeah.
forward? I know he's like forward facing, but I wish they had somebody whose job was like just to communicate with, like,
Yeah.
maybe even just to communicate with the competitive scene. And I don't feel like they
Mhm.
really have that. They kind of have a couple different people that fill that role
Yeah.
occasionally.
Mhm. I know
But
exactly what you mean, like a
yeah.
messenger type thing.
Hmm.
That just yeah, just goes back and forth with different comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even just maybe they just get in a big Discord call or like a big like Microsoft Teams meeting or something like that, and they just pick the brains of different, like maybe even the coaches, because the coaches of these teams see a lot of these problems firsthand because they get almost like a larger view on stuff because obviously they watch footage. If they got all the coaches in a call and just said, right, give me a list of all the stuff that we need to fix, I can't guarantee we'll fix it straight away, but at least you'll know that we're looking at it and we're trying to solve it.
Yeah.
Like they took Behemoth out. They took Behemoth out. That was good.
Yeah.
Um, they said they're gonna work on that, but
Hmm.
that's such like a small step in my opinion.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, agreed. It kind of seemed like it took a while to get like that map out of that rotation or whatever.
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, I think there definitely could be some improvements, but obviously it's not. I think we're in a better place than we've been.
1000%.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. This is kind of more of a fun one. So, was Halo 5 a better game overall? So something happened with people's recollections of Halo 5, and somehow with these bad experiences in Infinite, people are convinced that Halo 5 was better. What do you think?
I think
Uh-oh.
it's a bit of no. Obviously, I think Infinite's a better game. But I think in terms of I don't want to say playability, but in terms of like minor quality of life issues, I think Halo
Yeah.
5 was a bit better. Not like completely better, but I think if I'm really like nitpicking at different parts of the game, I'd say Halo 5 was better in terms of like maybe quality of life
Hmm.
type issues. But overall, Infinite's definitely a better game. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at Infinite gameplay compared to Halo 5, and I'd rather watch Infinite gameplay 1000%.
Y-
But what about you?
Yeah. I agree. I think if you're just judging it by foundational like core gameplay, like I think it's like head and shoulders better than above Halo 5. I just think it's like way more to the roots of like Halo, and I don't knock anybody that Halo 5 was their game. That some people that's their like favorite Halo, and I like teach their own. But for me, I definitely prefer like Halo Infinite, but I do think like stability wise and a lot more of like even off the game issues, like I think Halo 5 kind of was superior. I think stability, just different, just a bunch of different aspects. I could see why. I mean, if you're factoring all those in, I understand why people are thinking Halo 5 was better. But I just thought that was like a fun thing that people were talking about. I thought it was also kind of funny because I was like, I just remember at the end of Halo 5, everybody like so ready to be done with it, and then it was like, and people just kind of playing it because they didn't have anything else, and then now it's like we're a few months into Halo Infinite, and it's like, oh, I miss Halo 5. And I was like, what? I never thought we would. I was like, maybe in like a couple years, people would start, you know, looking at it with like rose tinted glasses, but yeah,
Yeah, it's like recency bias
yeah,
in like a negative way almost. They're like, these issues didn't happen in like prior like past games like Halo 5.
yeah,
But I don't think that makes it the better game overall. Definitely not.
yeah. I think it's just people. I think it's like just a normal thing to do to just look at the past and think about the good without thinking about the
Yeah,
bad, you know. And you're like,
yeah,
we didn't have these
definitely.
issues in like Halo 5. It's like, but we had plenty of other issues with like, you
Hmm.
know, the gameplay, which was I think more of a hindrance. But
Yeah.
anyways, I think just based on our time, we're already kind of towards the end. I did have one. Do you have any comments, any hot takes that you wanted to get out there? I have one more of like a rant that I want to get out.
I mean, I'm happy to just listen to your rant. To be
All
honest,
right. So
I'll chime in here
I've
and
seen this on Reddit, and there's like people can have opinions, and I usually am like, you know what? Some opinion, you know, it's an opinion. They're neither right or wrong. This opinion is wrong, okay? The observer mode for Halo Infinite. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have it, but when we're watching a pro Halo tournament, we do not need a mini map. There's no need for a freaking mini map on the screen. If you're watching Halo Infinite and you don't know where you are on the map, go play it. It's free to play. Figure out the map. Nobody's getting lost on the map. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, have you guys not watched and been like, hey, look at all these graphics on the screen. You know what would be great? More graphics. What are we talking
yeah.
about? Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I definitely think you're right. I feel like there's not too much going on the screen already, but I think it's kind of adding a mini map to that. Where would they put it? Like bottom left?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I think right now,
Or,
honestly, I think there could be less. Like we always have that. So it shows all the stats, right, of the players, and it shows
yeah,
like it shows just the most ridiculous stats. So it'll show objective, and it'll just be 0 unless they're playing like
yeah,
flag or oddball, and then it's like they have 3 points. It's just so like useless
yeah,
information that I wish they would take that away. But I'm like, at the very least, I'm like, okay, it's I've gotten used to it. It's not too bad. But I'm like, a freaking mini map? Are we kidding, guys? What
yeah.
are we talking about here? So that was my only piece that I wanted to get
I
off my
definitely.
chest.
I think a mini map's just not Halo
Yeah.
overall. It's just not. I feel like maybe they watched some other games and like Call of Duty's got a mini map. I know that.
Yeah. And in
Maybe
other
they're
games,
trying to put
I think it works great. But I think
yeah,
the thing that people have to understand is like it doesn't not every esport has to like kind of be the same. And just because even if it's
yeah,
like another first person shooter and they do something like you should take what's best and what works in your game and implement it. You don't have to implement every little thing on there, you know?
yeah, yeah. I think the only thing I could say that would support that Reddit post would be for new viewers, but
Yeah,
at
but
the same time, it's
yeah.
like you can just go and play the game for free. It's not like you got to pay like what £60 or $60 or whatever to actually buy
Yeah.
the game. So
Well, and
just
I started watching like Counter-Strike a while
right.
ago, right? And
Mhm.
I had never even picked up the game. And they do have a mini map, but I never like it didn't help me. I wasn't ever like, "Oh, thank God they got this mini map. I know what's going on," you know? And like
Yeah,
now I
yeah,
actually enjoy it more because I like see the value that it brings, but that's also like that for that specific game, you know?
yeah. I think they should just stick to the root,
Yeah.
just not.
Come on, guys. That's what this podcast is going to be called now. No
Yeah.
mini map in Halo. We're
No
done.
mini map.
We're done. All right. I think that's it from us. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you for the pre Anaheim LAN podcast episode, which we're gonna come up with a way better title by then.
Yeah, and make sure to subscribe as well.
Yes, like,
The
subscribe.
the views compared to the subscribes are wavering a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely.